create a new quote, we can either click on the Quotes button on the toolbar or select Quotes from under the PrintQuote Pro menu. Then we click on Create Quote. First of all, we enter the job name. The quote number is already incremented and selected from the Preferences file. Current date is inserted here, and the date required using the default date from the Preferences is selected here. So then we type in the client's name. We can type in part of the name, hit the tab key, then any records that start with those characters will be displayed. We can select the client and drop the client in. Any special notes that have been stored with the client will be displayed for the user to take action. Another way to select a client, we can go to the drop-down menu and choose Select Clients. We can scroll through the clients, or we can search the clients. And then choose the client. And again, the special note is displayed. We can also modify a client by selecting Modify Client on the Client drop-down menu. We can make our alterations, add contacts, etc. We can also create a client or remove the client from the quote. Then we type in the job description. So we type in the description: 3 colour business cards with 2 plate changes on the black run. And that's the change for different addresses and phone numbers and name of 2 of the people. Then we type in the job number. We'll notice here that this client's previous job number was 34 and they've had 4 jobs done. We type in the quantities. We have the default salesperson selected and they are set in the Preferences. We can add, modify or delete salespeople from this drop-down menu. From here we could also, if this quote was finished, we could duplicate it, and also we can create a template when this is saved. But first we need to enter all the information in and finish the quote before we save it as a template. Otherwise a lot of the information won't be saved. We also have a status drop-down menu, so we can set a status by which the quotes can be searched at a later date. Quote ID is automatically created. So now we move on to the Printing tab. First, select the press. We'll choose GDO board, and we notice that the ink cost is 95 cents per 1,000 sheets, and that's set in the press preferences. There's only 1 colour per run. Now we can choose the number of colours. We're going to have 2 spot colours and black. And we're going to have 2 wash-ups and a black wash-up. The art typesetting and artwork can be entered here, but first we have to create a print item. and now we have a print item. So we can now add the artwork. Typesetting, who the artwork was prepared by, and now we have 2 plate changes on the black run. So we need to click on the plates button. So we want 2 plates changes for 1 colour. So that'll end up with a total of 4 plates. Now we can update the print item. So the plates button enables us to have any number of inks chosen to have any number of plates run against that. So we can have any number of plate changes for any number of inks if we wish. We can also split the plates between polyester and metal plates. So they're the colours for side 1. We also have the facility to enter colours for side 2. PMS colours can be entered in there. Again, update print item each time you make changes. Then we can move to the guillotining tab. And here we can select our stock either by typing the name in. So we're going to use linen ivory board. The length and width are automatically loaded. We can choose the running sheet size, which will be 6-up business cards. And a business card will be the finished size. Then we have the number of overs. So we have 50 overs. We can choose to include the guillotining of the overs in the final price and whether we actually charge for the stock in the overs in the actual finishing price. In this case we will. There's a percentage markup for stock, and we're using the end rate. We update print item. Then we move to the finishing, and this is per sheet rate. 2 is per book rate, 3 is per area rate. So here we're going to look for embossing. There we are, embossing. And we're going to add a finishing item. So we've now added a finishing item, which is the run for the embossing. We don't have any book rate finishing. And here on finishing tab 3, this bottom section is for the quote. And so we're going to have packaging. So we've got 500 pieces per pack and 10 packs per carton. Then we update the finishing. And then we move on to the costings tab. On the costings tab we can view all the quantities and their costings. To view more detail of the costings, we can double click on a print item and we can see a complete breakdown of that item. We can do the same also for finishing. We get a breakdown of all the finishing. We can also modify and change the quantities as well. So if a client, you reach the stage, you ring your client, you tell them the prices, and then they want, well, what about 3,000? You just type in the new number, hit the tab key, and you have your new price for the finishing and the print item. To add the freight, we can select a quantity and have a separate quote rate for each quantity. If we wish to do that, we turn off same values, choose a quantity and put a freight in there, then the next quantity, and the next, and then the last. Now, if we go back through those quantities, we'll notice that the freight is different for each. We can also have a different markup and a different discount for each quantity if we wish as well. If we click on same values, whatever values are in those items will be spread across all quantities. If we turn off the auto recalc button, we can manually enter the final totals of the combination of finishing and print items. If the value you type in is less than the auto-calculated value, the program will remind you to see whether you really want to do that. Now those subtotal prices will remain while the auto-recalculate button isn't selected. One important issue is to not change values within the quote with the auto recalculate button checkbox not selected. Otherwise there won't be any calculations taking place and you could get misleading values. You should only manually enter the totals when you're completely satisfied with every part of the quoting process and the job have been completed and don't need to be modified. Otherwise you have to auto recalculate and then redo your final totals. Then we can go to the quote text tab, and here we'll see a description of the quote which is automatically compiled by PrintQuote Pro and displayed here. You can type in and modify this if you wish. We also have a list of all the quantities and the components of that quantities. You can also modify prices here and quantities here. So you can change the quantity, hit the tab key, and now because we had the auto recalculate button off, it's telling us we'll need to recalculate. So it will automatically select that auto recalculate button so that it recalculates the original totals for all the quantities. We would need to go back and re-enter the custom prices for each of those quantities if we wished. So from here we can email a quote, we can SMS a quote, and we can print a quote. as well as being able to convert this quote to a job. We can also print the default quote using the default header. We can also go to a custom quote by printing on view quote, and we can load a template. So we've got 4 lines, 4 quantities, so we'll choose the 4-line version. And it's loaded with tags. We click on merge to merge the data from the quote. Here we can add additional pages. We can paste graphics in if we wish, and design and make our own custom quotes. All the items on the menus are the same as those for the input layout of the letters file. So if you see the video on letters input screen, you'll be able to see all the purposes of all of these commands. Then we can save that to database, and that will now be stored with the quote in the data file. Rebuild text enables you to rebuild the text of the quote. So if you've made alterations and then not sure what was there originally, you just click on rebuild text and it will give you back the original text that was created by PrintQuote Pro regarding this quote. Then we click OK to save the quote.